Am I the butthole for insisting it's my sister's own fault she got dropped from her university classes, and telling my family I refuse to feel sorry for her? Her classes are all remote, through Zoom, don't even need a webcam on, just log on to the class so the teacher sees your name there, and checks it off. But I guess that was too much for her, and she would rather sleep all day instead. She's missed the past 2 weeks straight. The university policy is if you miss 2 weeks of classes you get dropped. I know, I go there too. So of course, yesterday when she tried to log on she found she was dropped, from everything. She was distraught because she thought she was going to get in trouble with mom and dad. Honestly, I was worried they would kick her out with how they'd been talking when I started going a few years ago. If you drop out you got to find a new place to live and all that. While I don't feel bad for her getting dropped from the classes, I wouldn't want her to be homeless. Instead of being upset, mom and dad just tried to comfort her, telling her lies about how it's not her fault, the school was too harsh. I was planning on keeping my feelings to myself, but mom kept bugging me asking for me to try and help make her feel better. After the 7th or 8th time that night, I snapped and said my piece, saying how she knew the school's rules, we all were well aware of them, but she'd rather sleep all day than go to class for the past 2 weeks. So no, I refuse to feel sorry for her that her own actions caught up with her. You said if I ever did anything like this I'd be kicked out. But now you're just coddling her. Mom said the pandemic has been hard on us all, and that it should be understandable if people don't have the energy to go to class. I said I would agree, but sis has somehow found the energy to go to very unsafe house parties each and every weekend since the pandemic started, including the 2 she skipped class, putting everyone in the house at greater risk. But somehow, she doesn't have the energy for school? Mom and sis aren't talking to me right now. Dad is torn on who to side with. Edit. Yes, mom and dad know my sister parties. Mom is afraid her missing out on a year or 2 of dating and socializing will lead to her being single forever. I am engaged already, before you ask. Edit 2. Just to reiterate, I didn't say anything until mom pushed me to. Also, far as I've been told I'm the only one in the family diagnoses with depression. Not the butthole, I'm big on accountability. Your sister can't take accountability for something that is clearly her and her fault alone, and your parents aren't doing her any favors by placing blame elsewhere. This will repeat itself in other areas for years to come. Turning on a computer is so much easier than getting yourself up and heading onto campus. It takes close to 0 effort to do. Your parents giving her a pass and handing her an excuse for her behavior is enabling her, and it will burn them in the end. Should they kick her out? No. But consequences are important. For instance, my sister screwed up one semester and my parents were paying for school. They made her pay the next semester and they would pay her back if she passed. It worked. Hopefully whomever paid for school can still get reimbursed for this semester. The parent should also be giving consequences for her partying behavior, which puts them all at risk for that pesky virus. Do I smell the stench of golden child here, or am I just imagining it? At least a bit of hypocrisy from parents' side. You did nothing wrong here. Your parents are showing clear favoritism towards your sister here, hence the pandemic has been hard on us all, and that it should be understandable if people don't have the energy to go to class excuse she gave to you. Yes, the pandemic has been hard on us all. But that doesn't excuse your sister still partying during a bloody pandemic, and skipping school, thus putting you all in risk of getting the virus. Pretty selfish behavior, actually. Therefore, you're not the butthole. Original poster. Original poster replies. Do I smell the stench of golden child here, or am I just imagining it? For the most part they didn't play favorites. I think mom does see herself more in my younger sister though than she does me. Not exactly an overly girly girl. I love how mom is using the pandemic as an excuse. There are still lots of people who get up every day and physically go to work. There are lots of students who are getting up every day and attending school either in person or online. Op's sister is just lazy. She only wants to party and do nothing else. Edit. Not everyone who does this has mental health issues. There are people who are just like this. I do agree with your last statement. Choosing to sleep all day for 2 weeks instead of logging on to classes, however, is still an indication of something wrong. That kind of loss of motivation doesn't just happen overnight. It is 100% possible that Op's sister just thought the college would be more lenient with their attendance policies during the pandemic, was attempting to take advantage of that, and actually was just being lazy. But in my opinion, it is equally possible that Op's sister genuinely has some mental health problems that have been exacerbated by the pandemic, and their parents should definitely get her in contact with a therapist to make sure that there is nothing of that sort going on. It doesn't have to be a mental illness thing at all. She could have just been feeling overwhelmed to the point of total avoidance. I don't necessarily think that that is the more likely outcome, to be honest, but I do still think it is necessary for Op's parents to eliminate that as a possibility by having her check in with a licensed mental health professional. Even if there was nothing else going on mental health-wise, it couldn't hurt for her to have that space to talk about why she chose to do what she did, why she felt she would be exempt from the college's attendance policy, and how she feels about that decision now. I agree. There are other people doing it, so everyone has to be able to do it or they're just lazy. She's just lazy and wants to party, and there's no way it could be anything else because other students are doing it. God, I hope you and everyone else who upvoted this never have depressed children. Everyone automatically assumes it's depression. Not everyone has mental health issues. Maybe she does, or maybe this is just her. Original poster even said in another comment she's always slept in. Maybe she has chronic fatigue syndrome instead of mental illness. Not only is it easier to turn on a computer, but she wouldn't even have to be present and paying attention. All she has to do is log on and go back to sleep. Or she has mental health problems that are clearly undiagnosed and not being taken seriously or treated. She's not waking up at normal hours. I did this when I was diagnosed bipolar and would go on crazy late-night benders. This was my first thought. The fact that she's only been sleeping all day for a couple weeks is suspect as hell. A big change in normal habits like that are a sign of depression. Maybe mom knows something sister doesn't. I'm a student who was doing fine when I was attending an in-person tech school, and then pretty much did exactly what original poster did. Trust me, it wasn't easier. ADHD and other issues can make remote learning hard. Yeah, I'm also struggling lots, and this is making me feel bad laughing my butt off. This whole thread sucks. Lots of people struggle in college, sometimes to disastrous proportions. My whole graduating class was plagued with students who went away for college, hated it or struggled, and then transferred home to the local commuter school and took years to graduate. Yeah, my mental health issues definitely took a sharp turn for the worse when we first went remote. It's much easier for me to stay on top of my work when actually going to school in person. Yeah. Last semester was my first semester in university, while working a ton of hours, and helping my dad with his daycare when he needed as well. I had 14 hours last semester and it was horrid, including a class at 8 a.m., but even if I wasn't mentally present every morning, I at least opened my computer and logged onto the Zoom, and kind of listened while laying down with my eyes closed. I can't imagine skipping every single class for 2 weeks. Even when I was sick as hell in 8th grade and constantly in the hospital, once I got moved into online school rather than in person, I tried so hard to be in every class that didn't interfere with treatment. I agree overall, but I need to contend with you on one point. Online classes are not easier. My mental and physical health was so much better when my university was in person. The social isolation of the pandemic and the overwhelming coursework, busy work, of online courses has taken its toll over the past year. I still go to class, but it's harder for me to log on to Zoom than to go to in-person classes. It takes a lot of willpower. I literally want to die when I open my computer. Not the butthole. For most of the post, I was worried she might be having mental health issues, but then you said she's been partying and she lost my sympathy. I'm not saying it couldn't be a mental health issue, but it seems like she's just a selfish person who didn't want to go to school. She does not deserve your sympathy, especially since her social life is putting your whole family at risk. Edit. I didn't mean to offend anyone. After thinking about it further, I think original poster needs to talk to their parents about getting their sister some help. As someone who has suffered from depression and anxiety my whole life, I did not mean to trivialize mental health issues. A similar thing happened to me in college, and I wasn't even thinking about that. If she is anything like I was at that age, it's good if she's not in school for a while. She most likely needs to see a therapist and/or doctor and look into if she needs medication. The fact that she wasn't bothering to log in at all is definitely a bad sign that it's more than pure laziness. That's where I was going to until I saw that. Yeah, maybe she does have something, But if she can get out each week to go party, school from home should be doable too. That's not how mental illness works at all. No, it isn't. But school has to come first. Unfortunately, school doesn't wait for mental illness. What I think he means is that sometimes mental health issues can have side effects of overcompensating in order to make others and themselves think nothing's wrong. I can't be depressed, I just played 12 hours of Minecraft. I have a great life and I am going to prove it. Sometime that can mean neglecting the real world to the point of causing major problems. I definitely had the experience of not going to class while severely depressed in college but still partying hard. Not defending original poster's sister, I don't even know if this applies, but it can happen. Definitely not crazy at all for a depressed or otherwise mentally ill person to party hard but not go to class. Self-destructiveness and apathy during depression is a bitch. I got to disagree. I went from honors student to failing all my classes. In December, I was top of my class in most subjects and now I am completely overwhelmed and demotivated. Now I am drinking a lot and smoking weed every day. I have barely smoked in years, sleeping and partying with my roommates. And honestly have no clue where to get motivation from. The strict lockdown my country has been in since late November has mentally effed me up and drinking makes me feel a little better. I have also not been to class in 2 weeks and that is my responsibility, but saying that partying makes it clear that someone is alright and just lazy is a stupid reasoning, I think. Or at least logging into the class Zoom once within 2 weeks so that she's marked as being there even if she doesn't actually pay attention. What I did when I was sick early pandemic and literally couldn't handle being awake for all my classes was at least show up and record the class so I could get on later to watch it. At least getting the computer in the Zoom meeting isn't a huge ask even if you can't handle class at the moment. Especially since it sounds like you only need to do it once every 2 weeks and the clock resets. Procrastination is often anxiety and stress avoidance. If she's getting severe anxiety from school, but not from parties, this totally makes sense. I imagine a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds feel no anxiety/stress at parties, but feel tremendous pressure with school. I think sis does need help, if only to develop better coping mechanisms for stress than avoidance. I recognize this, because I do it when I'm not on top of my feelings. Info: with the way your parents are acting, it sounds like there's more going on here. Is your sister depressed? Kind of seems like your parents are already aware of that if she is. If she is so depressed that she can't even turn on a laptop, then her parents are the biggest buttholes here. Like, how could you sit by and let your child suffer that much? Original poster replies: she hasn't been diagnosed with it, I have though. Granted, it could be situational depression, very different from clinical with similar/same symptoms, but like I said, this is a fairly recent turn of things. She's always loved sleeping and napping, even going so far as me having to pick up a lot of slack in her chores over the years cause mom and dad just let her nap all day. But her sleeping this much and skipping class for it is fairly new. Somehow, she is always ready and wide awake for any sort of fun time though. Your sister can be depressed/struggling with her mental health and still attend parties. The period of my life I did the worst in classes was also the time period I partied the hardest, which was also the time period my mental health was at an absolute rock bottom. I drank and hung out with people because pretending to be the life of the party and putting away drinks distracted me. That said, I don't think you're a butthole. Like the top commenter, I'm huge on personal accountability. Yes, depression can make something like this more likely to happen, but that's when you have to communicate with professors or the university or get some help to keep yourself afloat. Yes, depression can make something like this more likely to happen, but that's when you have to communicate with professors or the university or get some help to keep yourself afloat. Can confirm. My wife has depression and is going through school right now. She communicates clearly and in no uncertain terms with her teachers and is managing to stay in school despite it all. Granted, she's also on medicine and regular therapy sessions. If you don't mind me asking, how did you make it out of that situation? Not the original poster you're asking, but for me it took a combination of therapy, intense, for several years, better friends, and a supportive partner, in addition to seriously grappling with the health impacts that lifestyle was having on me. I was dangerously thin, exhausted, and angry all the time. It took a few years of incremental change, nothing happened overnight. I didn't just magically decide I wanted to live better, and it happened by accident, and it was often pretty hard work. I still struggle all the time with the feelings that drove me to self-medicate and sink into what I call my F at party personality, but now I have more skills and support to get through those tough times more healthily. Hope this helps. It sounds like she's using parties to cope with whatever she's dealing with. This might include alcohol, drugs, and sex. Ask her what changed, in a kind, open, non-judgmental manner. I'm withholding judgment because I don't have enough information. When I was going through my really terrible time with depression, I failed 3 classes, didn't eat for days, and stayed in bed most of the day. I got up to smoke weed though. I think you're right, the partying may be another symptom of the possible depression she is going through. It definitely is. For some time my depression reached levels where I contemplated jumping from the bridge near the local clubbing area. But my coping was dancing and drinking the night away so that I'd be drunk enough to follow someone home and away from the bridge until the following night. People cope with mental illness and depression differently. TBH, I'm leaning towards no buttholes here, but I hope Op's parents' sentiment and compassion is equal across the board. This will probably get downvoted into oblivion. Why does it take you so much effort to show some compassion? Your sister's life, if not your life, she will undoubtedly do things you would have never done. She might be in some heavy waters right now. We all know it's easier to reach to escapism than it is to face reality. But that shouldn't matter. If you care for her, love her, then you should move to compassion while telling her the truth. You can be there for someone without judgment and guide them at the same time. Good luck, Op. I wish you the best. For this post, I say AITA. I agree with you 100%. There is almost definitely something more going on. I've experienced it myself, wondering why my parents haven't been pushing my sister to do her schoolwork. Turns out she has an ed. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.